Hello beekeepers, this is Tim from Tea Creek Bees and Honey. It is a wonderful December day, 66 degrees near Topeka, Kansas. And this is a look at nuke row. This is one row of nukes here I have on the property. And on a day like today, you should be able to see quite a bit of activity outside the front of the hive. Bees will come out for cleansing flights. Younger bees will come out and do orientation flights, and there should generally be activity. Isn't that right, Mr. Webb? So you can do a visual inspection and get an idea about if there are bees present in your hive. And generally, what I like to do is to walk around and lift up on the back of the hive. Because I have a lot of hives, I can kind of do a comparison and tell if a hive is about right or pretty heavy or a little too light. If the hive is a little too light, then I might take a feeding action. I look for hives that don't seem to have any activity, and if a hive doesn't have any activity, I might lift the lid and then look inside. And if that doesn't tell me anything, then I might put on the suit and get out in the smoke and take a look and see if there are any bees in the hive. But as I walk around the apiary, and there are three parts to this apiary: nuke row, and then a production area, and then, well, another nuke row. I don't see any hives that don't have a good amount of bee activity evident on the landing board or at the top entrance. So that's what I like to see. It's December 10th near Topeka, Kansas, and 66 degrees. This is a good example of an orientation flight. So these bees are doing figure eights and hovering in front of the hive entrance, and they use that process to orient themselves to the hive location. Normally it's cold in December and bees don't do this. This is an example of a hive that was light. I lifted up on the back of it and it was just noticeably lighter than the other hives, and I know why. I know something about this hive. This hive was humongous. She was a new 2020 queen, and I put her in around July 1st, and there were just 9 frames of brood fairly consistently throughout the late summer and early fall in this hive. Lots of bees eating a lot of food, and they just didn't store enough. It got really dry, if you might recall. The rain turned off at some point in the late summer, and so with dwindling nectar sources, this hive just didn't put on a lot of weight. So I have a contact feeder on top. There's 2-to-1 sugar syrup here, and the bees are taking that down. You could lift that up and there'd be a string of bees on the underside of that. So you can feed liquid feed all winter long. The bees will take it down so long as it's above about 50 degrees, at least the liquid is. They can use it. So that'll help them put on some weight, and the weight they gain with these warm days this week will be noticeable. This is an area on the property where I keep the production colonies. What I mean by that are double deep colonies and 10 frame equipment. Just inspecting the landing board activity of these hives. We can see bees coming and going and bees doing orientation flights. Some of the colonies just went into overwinter with a massive amount of bees. So on these you can see the bees boiling out of the top entrance and hanging out on the landing board on a warm day like today. Quite a few bees, quite a bit of activity. So with these colonies, I will take 1 or 2 nukes each out of the production colonies. This is another cluster of nukes. Inspecting the landing boards of these nukes, I can see activity outside of each one, to include bees coming and going in orientation flights. You can't always tell about the health of a colony based on landing board activity, but in this case you can. I thought I'd explain how I make spring nukes out of these 5x5 nuke boxes. Inside these nuke boxes, it's just one nuke stacked on top of another, are 5 frames in each level. About April 1st, I'll go through and I'll inspect all of these nukes. I shake all the bees into the bottom box. That way I know the queen is there. And I pull up any frames I want to use to make a nuke, the one that I'm going to sell to a customer. I put the queen excluder on, and then all the bees can crawl up and cover the frames above the queen excluder, except for the queen. She won't be able to fit through and she'll have to stay down. About 10 days later, I come back and I just take the top box away. And I take it to another location. I'll put it in a cardboard nuke and then add a queen, and then that's a nuke. That works pretty well because, you know, after 8, 9, 10 days above a queen excluder, the bees aren't going to have any material by which to make a queen cell. And so when I take the top box off site, you know, I can put a queen in and they're going to accept her because they have no other choice. One thing you have to watch out for when you make a lot of nukes is that the bees have a preference to make their own queens. So if they have any appropriately aged larvae, they will turn that larva into a queen cell. You have to watch for that. But if you leave the material above a queen excluder for 8, 9, 10 days, they'll become hopelessly queenless, and you can take the top box away, add a queen, and have a nuke. And that seems to work pretty well. Good activity in front of this hive. Lots of bees coming and going. Some bees doing orientation flights against the top entrance or the bottom entrance. You'll recognize that by the bees that are flying a figure-8 pattern at the lower entrance or at the top entrance. So it is a warm day here, and there is a ton of activity in front of every hive. This is Tim with Tea Creek Bees and Honey near Topeka, Kansas. Have a great day.